going on, y'all? BBQ Dropout here. So if you're wondering how long to reheat a brisket in the oven, you kind of just want to take a step back and kind of understand like whether or not your brisket is already sliced up or whether or not it's like a whole pack of brisket that you just decide to sort of put in the refrigerator for later use. And if it's the former, meaning if you've already sliced the thing up and you're just kind of like looking to reheat it on like an ad hoc basis or something, then I would probably budget maybe like, or let me back up. So I would probably do two things. Number one, I would probably try to preserve as much moisture as I can. So a good way of doing that is just slowly let the thing come up to temperature, and you can do that by reheating it at around like 225 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of like the low and slow cook for like any kind of brisket if you're just like cooking the thing. But if you're looking to reheat it, I would say that's probably the maximum at which I would try to reheat a sliced brisket, because you don't want to let the thing dry out. So if you're trying to reheat some sliced brisket in the oven at around like 225 degrees Fahrenheit, I would probably budget about 30 minutes to an hour. But obviously, like, your mileage may vary. You want to try and make sure that you're not actually drying it out, and heck, it could be a little bit longer than that. So let's say you put the brisket in there, you heat it up, try to reheat it, and it's still not all the way reheated. Well, then you can easily just kind of just let it roll and then wait another like 30 minutes. So maybe what you want to try and do is just check the oven like every 30 minutes or so, give or take. You obviously want to let either like the smoker or like the oven come all the way up to 225, and then once it hits that, then put the brisket in there, and then just let it sit, and then the internal temp will slowly start to rise. So I would try to budget about like 30 minutes to like an hour and a half at probably the most. And that's if you have like sliced brisket, individual slices you're just trying to reheat. And let's say you have like a whole pack of brisket you just threw in there. It's probably gonna take a little bit longer. For Thanksgiving or Christmas, I've done like that's kind of like my method actually, is to smoke the brisket, let it all come down in temp, let the juices kind of soak back into the meat, and then put it in the fridge and then take it out like the next day or something. And so you definitely want to, especially if you're cooking like for a big event, you want to try and like give yourself enough time to kind of make sure that it can be prepared in the right way. And so for like a whole pack of brisket being reheated at around like 225 degrees Fahrenheit, what you could do is like stick your thermometer in there every 30 minutes, just like we did with the sliced brisket, and then just kind of check it every 30 minutes. And depending on how much your brisket weighs and all that stuff, I would probably budget again like about like an hour, maybe like 2 hours for it to fully come up to temperature. And in terms of like what temperature you should be letting it come up to, maybe you want to try to let it come all the way up to about like 165 degrees Fahrenheit. So again, like if you're reheating it at a reasonable ambient temperature of about 225 degrees Fahrenheit, doesn't really have to be that, but in my opinion, that's just kind of like a safe sort of like temperature to cook whatever kind of brisket at or like reheat it at. It should take you anywhere from like 30 minutes to like 2 hours to reheat it, depending on if it's already sliced or if it's already like a full pack of brisket.